Hi, it's your boy Sin, and welcome back to Metal Monday, where I talk about albums that I might recommend you listen to so you can start your week off right. This week, I will be talking about one of the very early contenders for all the best of lists of 2020, an act that is slightly controversial mainly due to the mystery surrounding the identity of its progenitor. The said album is Faidra's debut effort, Six Voices Inside. The album title, Six Voices Inside, refers to the modern-day exorcism case of Annalise Michel, which was also the topic for the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which I will be covering this Friday on my Movie Friday segment. This case of Catholic exorcism ended in tragedy and with the conclusion that Annalise Michel was actually just having epileptic seizures rather than reacting to possession by demons. However, Six Voices Inside is not a concept album as evidenced by Faidra himself admitting that the songs The Depths and Tomb of Giants were actually about the Dark Souls game series. Now, Faidra is a one-man black metal project hailing from Sweden, which is basically the sum total of all that is known about him. The artist has chosen to remain anonymous and has stated in an interview that this was due to the fact that an artist's worldview often overshadows their artistic output. This, coupled with the band's stylistic influences, have led many to conclude that Faidra is actually Varg, yes, that Varg, in disguise. I will be addressing this rumor later in the video, but right now I just want to get a little bit more into the music of Faidra, and I will start by explaining what I mean by stylistic influences. Stylistically speaking, Faidra's take on black metal mainly takes its cues from the 1993-1994 Vissleset Taros and Filosofam era Burzum, where the musical landscape is dominated by a prevailing sense of minimalism, where just a handful of riffs carry tracks of over 7 minutes. In taking cues from this particular variation of black metal, Faidra also does away with most of the savage aggression that has come to characterize black metal, replacing it instead with a brooding, moody disposition. In the place of all that aggression and speed, you have middling, mid-tempo tracks filled to the brim with tasteful and at times folk and doom-influenced riffs, plodding bass, stable, beat-keeping drums, and the occasional keyboard embellishments. In terms of the said embellishments, do not expect something as prevalent as symphonic black metal bands would have it. In keeping with the Burzum influences, the keyboard embellishments are usually minimalistic and meant to punctuate certain parts of riffs and or punctuate the end points of bars rather than to add a whole dollop of synth on top of the proceedings. If a point of comparison is to be made, I would say that Faidra has more in common with Vissleset Taros Filosofam era Burzum or Kalman Kantaya or La Dama de Alba era Falgar or Fluis Terrars than it has with the likes of Marduk, Mayhem, Immortal or Gorgoroth. The end result of this bundle is an extremely atmospheric, very immersive, and extremely chill, almost meditative type of repetitive and hypnotic black metal that wastes no time in pulling the listeners into its world and making sure that they enjoy their stay. The opening track, A Pact Among the Wolves, introduces you to the basic style that you're going to be hearing throughout this album and draws you in with a mid-tempo, churning, almost post-metal-like riff that propels the song forward, and any other variation introduced within the track, be that the second riff that complements the first or the single note keyboard punctuations, only serve to push the song forward, which is where Faidra excels. Tightness in songwriting. Given the fact that these are lengthy tracks based on not too many riffs, the album might have easily ended up falling into the trap of being monotonous and extremely repetitive, something that Faidra for the most part manages to avoid by introducing a type of variation within the tracks and small changes throughout its 42-minute runtime. By keeping the arrangements extremely tight tight, every single moment, repetitive or otherwise purposeful, Faidra manages to carry you from the first track to the last. It's kind of like sitting back and chilling on a wave that's carrying you from the shore of one holiday island to the next one, if said islands were draped in fog and had old, abandoned, possibly haunted castles on them. The atmosphere that the album manages to conjure up is suitably dark and dismal. However, it does not cross over into full-blown darkness as some of the more atmospheric albums tend to. This isn't the depths of the abyss that you are descending to, even though the imagery that the sound manages to conjure up is usually abandoned old medieval castles. Whether or not there's an evil presence there is highly debatable, which goes to more the chill out aspects of the album, because the album does not really seek to disrupt your balance or to disturb you. It just seeks to put you in a very dark and very moody little place. Now, more about the album. The second track, The Depths, brings more of the folk elements that I have been talking about, but do not expect any folk instrumentation. It is more in the way that the main riff of this song is written and presented that you get a feel of folkiness in the track rather than anything overt. The rather folksy, somewhat tangly-wangly, for lack of a better term, mood of The Depths also serves as a bit of a pit stop before the album decides to bring out its doom influences full force with Obsequies and Tombs of Giants. The first of these two tracks, Obsequies, carries an extremely doomy undertone, while the riffing and the overall structure of the song still keeps in with the rest of the album in its particular variation of black metal. You cannot help but feel the doom creeping in much the same way that Faidra blends folk influences in the song The Depths. Your journey further into the doom, or more accurately, the sadder pastures of doom, continues with Tombs of Giants, which is easily the saddest song on this album. The sadness that it carries, once again, is more of a feeling that is embedded into the heart of the track, rather than something that is done to wrench emotions from the listener. This sense of subtlety that permeates throughout the album is one of the main things that makes Six Voices Inside an extremely enjoyable listen. The album may be a cohesive whole drawing from the same, rather admittedly limited pool of resources. These little influences that keep creeping into the music keep things interesting. It helps that after delving in sadness for 2 tracks straight, Faidra decides to ramp things up and get things a little bit more epic with the more vast expanses of the next track, The Judas Cradle, which is also home to the most straight up, or as close to straight up as Faidra gets, aggressive, full-on black metal finish. This little bout of unrestrained aggression sort of comes out of nowhere and makes for a very interesting track closer and a preparation for the final titular track, Six Voices Inside. Further contributing to the beautiful album that Faidra has managed to concoct is the sort of unexpectedly well-polished, well-rounded, almost perfect production. Fucking seriously, this thing was recorded in someone's bedroom and it easily shits on half the albums out there. The guitars are well-rounded, well-polished, while keeping an extremely raw edge required to deliver to you the types of tingly feelings you get whenever you get guitars that are well-balanced in how they were mixed and mastered. The bass is prominent enough without taking all that much space. The drums all hit with enough emphasis, and the vocals sit extremely comfortable where they are in the mix. Add to that the keyboards, as little as there may be on this album, are incredibly lush and resonant, and that the whole sound rounds out to something that is incredibly well balanced while still keeping a raw enough bite to satisfy all you lo-fi lovers out there. I would say that in terms of production, Faidra fucking nails it. All you brick wall lovers out there, get out your pads and take fucking notes. This is what it's about. Now, with all that said, let me get a little bit into this weird-ass rumor that Faidra is actually Varg in disguise. Personally, I don't believe that this is true. There's several reasons for this. One, the statement that this rumor takes inspiration from, that the worldviews of artists can often overshadow their works of art, has led many to conclude that this can only come from the mouth of someone who is secretly a neo-Nazi or something, which is just a weird conclusion to automatically draw. I mean, especially considering the answer to the question, when was the last time you knew Varg to keep quiet about his worldviews? I mean, seriously, even if the guy had to put on his best camo parka and record on the shittiest webcam he can find while sitting in his car outside of a mall, the man is known for preaching what he thinks. He has never shied away from sharing with everyone what he thought about anything, even when this made him an extremely controversial and even borderline untouchable figure. Secondly, if the last Burzum album, Thulian Mysteries, and the diva moment that Varg had over it about how he really didn't feel like releasing an album but put it out anyway, has proven, if the more metal releases of post-prison Burzum haven't, Varg, I don't think, has this kind of music in him anymore. Thirdly, I don't think an artist wanting to remain anonymous is immediately an unquestionable sign that they harbor some questionable political leanings. I know that especially within the realm of black metal, National Socialism, Nazi bands is a bit of an issue, and a controversial one at that, but I don't think jumping the gun based on a single statement and how a band sounds is a very wise thing to do. Especially considering the fact that Burzum's sound during the two albums that I keep mentioning has provided to be inspirational quite a bit, to the point where it is said to have been the primary inspiration behind an entire subgenre of black metal. I don't think this is an indication that we are dealing with a monster here. But like I said, this is just my personal opinion. If you are going to hate on Faidra based on a rumor, you are free to do so. For my money though, Faidra's Six Voices Inside is easily one of the best albums of 2020, hands fucking down. If you like black metal, if you like doomy variations of metal subgenres, if you like your music to be moody, brooding, atmospheric, dank, and immersive, Six Voices Inside is definitely the album for you, and you should definitely give it a listen. If at the end of a tiring day you would just like to kick back and relax, I would say put this album on and you won't be disappointed. Until next time, hope you have a great week. It's Eason. Peace out. Varg.